the monthly meeting. All right, well, we're going to start our meeting with a call to order and let it be shown that all the members are here except for Mr. Mike Rogers, who is on vacation and he is excused. Approval of the meeting minutes. Our last meeting that we held for this committee was on March 23rd of 2023. Do I have a motion?
I move.
Thank you, Mr. Zons.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Lino. Any other discussion or comments about the minutes? Any corrections? Hearing none. All in favor, please vote aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Public comments. I received none pertaining to this meeting. Anyone else? All right, thank you all. Staff reports. If you want to look and follow along, or if you have it printed out, our staff reports are very nicely provided to this committee ahead of time. We get them in writing, including updates on all the committees and departments that answer to this admin committee. Our first report is from our county manager, Chris Corpola. Anyone have any questions for Chris, or Chris, anything that you would like to highlight?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay.
Uh,
Mr. Baller.
May I please, thanks, Mr. Chair. And you said you testified at the finance hearing on the levy limits. You spoke a little bit about it here. Do you want to explain that a little more, maybe?
Sure. So I basically, I've learned over the years that at least the Wisconsin Counties Association believes that those joint finance committee meetings are valuable in the sense that they do keep sort of tally of what the issues are and who's in favor and who's opposed to. And some people or some entities have a really strong voice at those. So higher education, there probably were, I think there were about 225, maybe 250 people who testified that day. And I would say 25 of them were affiliated with UW Stout and the renovation of Heritage Hall. So they show up sort of in mass. There was a really well put together presentation by this young group of students who representative of 11 higher education and 3 public high schools in Milwaukee and La Crosse. And then maybe that was it. But anyway, they were speaking to, they were a group that was around supporting continuation of the Wisconsin Promise, which is money that's dedicated to if you graduate in such and such a percentage of your class and you would be guaranteed admission to a Wisconsin college system, you know. So anyway, they did a really nice job with that. And so I thought, I don't know who else will show up, but I will definitely go and speak to our concerns about levy limits. So I basically took the information that was, you get 2 minutes, which goes by lickety split. I basically took the information that was prepared for the legislators and kind of summarized it, shortened it up a little bit, and then spoke to that, testified to that. So I knew you need to get there early. Because it starts at 10 o'clock and I knew, but apparently you needed to get there at 6 o'clock in the morning to stand in line in order to get in early. So I got there about 8:30 and I testified at 3:45 in the afternoon. So it's a long day of sitting there listening, but it's really interesting. But there were probably a handful of other municipalities who spoke to the kind of the restrictions related to just levy limits. And we had in our legislative discussions with the legislators had identified some potential remedies like increasing sales tax or tying the limit to, you know, net new construction or a percentage of CIP or, you know, just different things like that. So CPI, sorry. And so, yeah, so I just shared that background and that information and, yeah, don't know if it makes a difference or doesn't, but felt like it was our part of being able to advocate for what was important to us.
Anything else for Chris? Tim?
Yeah, Chris, just to let you know, I did show up for that meeting and I brought 16 copies of our legislative agenda with that one item highlighted for the real estate, moving it from 80-20 to 50-50. I waited around 2 hours. That's as long as I could go. I just left my paper there and they promised me that each one would get a copy. So,
Yeah, they're perfectly willing to take, written,
yeah,
information as well. So,
but there were a lot of people with a lot of asking going on. Let's put it that
there
way.
is, but as you sit there through the day, you realize it sort of congeals into certain pots. So yeah, I think that I was texting with Sarah Diedrich Castor from WCA that day, and I'm just like, counties, we need to do a better job, because in reality, when 75 people from higher education show up and 75 people from secondary education show up, and so many people from some environmental cause show up, and all those different things, and then 1 or 2 or 3 people from a county or municipality show up. I mean, I'm not saying that doesn't have a benefit, but you definitely see some passion for the cause when all of those people show up to speak to it.
The loudest voice in the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, moving on. Our second report in your packet came from our Human Resources Director, Jana Lee Nutter. And she is here. Are there any questions or comments for Jana Lee? Mr. Bauer.
Thank you. I just have a question on the drug testing. You talked a little bit about that. Who gets drug tested and why? Certain groups, or is it? No.
Okay, so essentially, per the DOT, we have requirements to have a drug testing, and alcohol testing policy that's applicable to the employees that hold a CDL and perform safety sensitive job duties. So it's primarily applicable to our highway operators as well as our transit employees that just started with the county as of 1/1 of this year. So the Department of Transportation requires quarterly random testing. And then we also have to follow annual reporting requirements and things like that. So late last year, actually, the process started much earlier than that. But historically, the county highway department had an administrative support role there that managed this process, likely because there wasn't always human resources around. So that wasn't necessarily out of the ordinary. That person that was managing it did retire. So at that point in time, we took over that piece as an HR division and required some review of that process. And in that had learned that the county was administering this process for not only our employees, but also employees of the municipalities in Dunn County. So we had some sessions with some of the town clerks and things like that, worked through some transitions with getting that changed just because there were compliance concerns with how that was being operated. And as part of that, needed to review our existing policy and make a recommendation. The holdup on that is there is some added pieces that we've been working closely with the DOT on that are specific to the transit employees. So I had hoped to bring this forward a couple months ago. But in that final review, working with the DOT, there were just some last pieces that we're working through. So I hope that helps. Maybe more than you were asked for.
No, that's fine, but I was at the town board meeting and they said, no, you're not doing it with the towns anymore, then you're done.
That's correct. As part of that process, there was, retention of documentation and things like that, where there were concerns with the county retaining that information, or continuing to retain that information. And, upon legal review of the process as it was recommended to work through a transition with the towns to help them be able to kind of manage their own process. We do outsource the actual drug testing with an agency called Drug Test Midwest. So we tried to make that as smooth of a transition as possible for the towns and helped them kind of bridge on getting set up with Drug Test Midwest and hopefully provide a painful transition for that, or a painless transition. It probably was painful because it was a lot to take in. Our HR advisor, Caitlin, put together a really instructional and good presentation when we invited the town clerks in to kind of go through what is drug testing, why do we have to do this? And then they also got the opportunity to meet the representative from Drug Test Midwest, and hopefully the implementation of that went smoothly after that. So unless you've heard.
Thank you, that answers
others.
my question, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Anyone else? Yes. Supervisor Lee.
Yeah, generally, I just have a quick question here. I'm noticing something in the vouchers for Fierce Incorporated. Now I just have a question mark on that, and that's an HR thing, right?
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
you guys. Okay.
So that is actually being funded as part of our carry forward request that was approved for this year. So what Fierce is a leadership training company that we are bringing in on May 8th to provide training to all of our supervisory staff. And that will focus on basically the power of conversation and also provide coaching, tips and feedback and things like that. So really just looking to put a focus on management training in general for this year, kind of in the process of deciding what the need is. We were able to identify that 62% of our managers here at the county are new within the last 3 years to their role. So just felt that was really a need, and needing to prioritize giving them the tools to succeed. And also down the line, good managers help boost retention. And that's been a main priority for us in administration this year.
I see that. Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, thank you. I was just, I knew I saw this before, and I was 100% if it was your department or not. That's all.
Yeah, it's been a team effort. Chris has been very supportive of that, and we're really excited to bring it to the county.
Makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Anything else for John Lee? Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. Moving forward from there, we have a report from Criminal Justice Collaboration Council. Sarah Benedict is a director of that department. And she is
She's online. Yep.
online. Oh, there you are. All right. Any questions for Sarah to start out with? I see that she has another large grant that they have secured for us. Any questions about that? Sarah, you have anything you want to highlight or mention about your report?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Well, thank you much, Sarah. Thanks for being present. All right.
I just have one.
Oh,
comment.
I'm sorry.
Kudos to you, Sarah, for snagging that extra money. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, thanks, Sarah. Okay, our next report came from our county treasurer, Sophia Jebny. And are there any questions for our county treasurer? All right, Sophia, do you have anything that you want to add to your report? Okay, thank you much. Okay, after that, and you can see one thing I guess I'd like to just bring up. Any questions about the investment information that she provided us? All right, good.
If I may, though, I would just
Right.
clarify, as Supervisor Bauer and I were speaking before the meeting, just to know that our general fund, so as we talk about our fund balance is, I'll say, hiding in those numbers. That those numbers in part reflect where our money that's in our operating reserve fund is held. So when you see that big number, part of that is our, part of it's just our regular ins and outs. And some of it is our fund balance as well.
I have one quick question
Yeah.
here. I just see some, Sifa, that I see some major moves of money. Local government investment pool went from 20 million to 27 million. And then, in the Bremer General Fund, went from 10 million to 3 million, and I'm thinking, that's about 7 million. Are those two things somehow connected?
Are we on?
Yep.
Okay,
Great.
so since I'm up here, I'll just do a really brief overview. So
Okay.
when I decided to do this, I actually had the county manager take a look at it, just seeing what her input was. Generally regarding investments, the treasurer's office puts it in my yearly report. And if I was a county supervisor and I'm only having the opportunity to look at it once a year as a brief overview, it's kind of like, where is the money and what is happening? So I thought for the standing committee, that's something that I would maybe start providing every month, just so you can kind of see. And it wasn't my original idea. There's many other county treasurers that do it. And I was like, I really like that idea. I'll do that.
All right.
So just a really brief overview. So the LGIP is where we keep the majority of our money. So in our Bremer account, which is our general fund account, we have to house $2 million in there at all times. And then money that comes in and out daily comes into that account. So when it's tax season and we're getting large amounts in there, we're then moving it over to LGIP. As you can see, the interest rate is higher there. So we're trying to take advantage of that. So the Bremer General Fund, how I did it, and if this doesn't make sense, I can certainly change it going forward. So that beginning balance, so these numbers are based on the end of March. So March 31st, those are the statements that I have when I'm preparing my report. So the general fund, at the beginning of March, it was 10 million. And at the end of March, it was 3. So that's based on the bank statement that we get from Bremer. As I said, money ebbs and flows, our payroll. So just like a quick overview, we'll have, I don't know if we had 2 or 3 payrolls in that period. Our payroll is approximately $1 million every time. So, I mean, that can really fluctuate quite a bit. The MMI, that is, so if I know that we have payroll and we have extra funds that are a large amount of checks are going out, rather than moving money from LGIP, I might move it a day early. So if I need to quickly move it from MMI, which is also a Bremer account, to the general fund, it's an easy process to do. The reason I wouldn't put it right in the general fund is because MMI has a little bit of an interest rate too. So we're at least acquiring a little bit of interest there. And then the self-funded insurance, we really used to use that on a weekly basis when we had Medica, because we were paying those invoices on a weekly basis and a monthly basis. We don't really utilize that anymore. So as you'll see these monthly reports coming, that's not going to fluctuate very much. Okay. And then if we move down, so we've had many discussions regarding PFM. So PFM is our asset management company. They are our longer term investments. So LGIP is extremely liquid in that I can put in a request before 11 a.m. and they will have
they will have the money in our account by the end of the day. PFM is still liquid, but it may take a day or two. Okay, so PFM is our asset management, more long-term. And something that they do that we're realizing is we do have that monthly charge as a contract, but we're realizing as we talk to them more that they offer many more benefits that maybe Dunn County hasn't utilized, such as right now, and in my report, I had mentioned that they're doing a financial analysis for us free of charge. So I have sent all of that data to them and they're doing that. So there are benefits that PFM offers us that we haven't necessarily utilized in the past.
Okay, what about this new firm that
Yep.
we talked about? Because I thought we were going to move assets from PFM to this new firm. Or are we just kind of checking them out?
We are dipping our toe. Would that be fair to say?
Okay,
Yes.
all right, so
Yes.
until we're completely out, that monthly fee will be there.
Until we are completely out, that monthly fee will be there. And
Okay.
the investment team is still taking a look. So the new company, PMA, is kind of twofold. So they are similar to LGIP in that the money is very liquid. And then they also do, so you can see all of our CDs are at the bottom of the long-term investment. So PMA, who is the new company, they also manage CDs. So for example, when I went to price out, we used to have all of our CDs. We had the majority of the CDs in Bremer and we were earning little to no interest at all.
Yeah.
So when we switched it to ADM, I had to do all the research, whereas PMA is a company that holds money like LGIP, and they can also do the pricing and bidding out. So if I say, so for example, Wisconsin becomes that maturity date is in October and the interest rate is really low. So I will be looking for somewhere else to put that money that we can earn a higher interest rate. And I can go to PMA and say, I know it's a lot. And I can go to PMA and say, I'm really interested in checking out what other CDs are available to us and what the interest rate is. And they're able to do that for us. So they really manage CDs, some long-term investment, and they're liquid like LGIP. So just in context, many counties have money in both PMA and LGIP.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, what are the maturities of these CDs? I see the maturity date, but
Yep.
what were the length? 18 months, 1 year?
A year.
A
Yep.
year.
So, yep.
Okay.
So we had switched these in December, I believe, from Bremer. We were in a hurry to switch them out because they were maturing. And then we switched them over to ADM. So they're in there about a year. And as you can see, so there are 5 CDs that we have with ADM. You will see that one has a lower interest rate. So many of these accounts have a cap to the amount of what you can have in there. So that 245 is all you can have in there, which is, so I
Good.
put them all at the top that we possibly could with a higher interest rate. And then the remaining of those dollars went into the
Okay.
one that was a little bit lower.
And is there a serious penalty if for some reason we have a contingency that we need to tap into that money?
There is not. When we moved the money, there is a fee upfront, but there wouldn't be one removing
Okay,
it.
on the way out, say,
Yep.
we hit the wall somewhere.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you very much. I
Sorry if that was
appreciate
a long overview, but
Oh,
hopefully that helped
actually,
explain.
I understand much better and the
Okay.
acronyms are beginning to sink in
Okay.
slowly. but-
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, Sophia. Appreciate it. Anybody else here? Otherwise, we're gonna move down the list. Our next report to the committee administration came from Dan Dunbar. Dan is our Chief Information Officer. And he is here. Is there anything about Dan's report we have questions on? Supervisor Bauer.
Thank you. You're moving the equipment back from the homes. What kind of shape is it in? Are they up to date as opposed to the ones that were here?
I gotta think. So we write these reports like a week or so ago. The Yeah, so that is equipment mainly from the courts, actually. So it was essentially equipment that was purchased for employees of the clerk of courts when they were working from home over COVID. Typically, the equipment for the clerk of courts is paid for by the state. This particular equipment was paid for, well, it was paid through grants of some sort. But it's essentially a county asset. So they're no longer working from home. So they didn't need those devices. So they were kind of just sitting in inventory. They're about 1.5 years old. So we've been prioritizing repurposing those as opposed to buying new in those areas.
Anything else for Dan?
I don't know enough about it.
Danny, you
Yeah,
have anything you want to add to your report?
No, not at this time. No.
Okay, thanks, Dan.
All right.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on.
I would note,
Yes.
Supervisor Headland, that County Clerk Marcel provided his report after the fact, so, and it came in a separate email.
Thank you. In fact, I made a couple copies. Anyone that didn't get it, intend to look at it?
I didn't catch that one.
Okay,
Okay, I'll take a look.
all right. I think they're just, yeah, they just do it there. Okay. And a very nice, please excuse me from our county clerk was sent along with his report, but we did receive it.
Yes, apologies for not having it made in the packet. I had a brain issue apparently, remembering what.
I much appreciated the phrasing of your apology too. That you're
I
going
shall
to
endeavor to try, yes. So just a quick highlight then, since some of you are just getting this. You can see on the first part, we closed out the spring 2023 election with the new reporting structure that was available on election night. Seems to have gotten some good feedback. There is definitely some tweaking to do in the future as we go forward. But it's definitely more of a high level overview for the entire county of what we're doing on election day and as the results come in. So there's that. Reconciliation is pretty much done. The only thing I'll note is that in our board of canvas, which is where we certify the election results, we did have an issue with wards 3 and 4 in the city of Menominee. We had to open those ballot bags, and what happened was the count seems to have gotten inverted between wards. So Ward 3 had one ballot style, Ward 4 had a different ballot style, because Ward 3 had a city council member election on it. And it sounds like when the poll workers were sitting next to each other, counting off who's on what number, it went awry. So we were able to rectify it, and all the numbers match the total numbers of the tapes of the ballots that were cast. So that's something that will go away with the use of Badger books going forward, which will be really helpful. But that is just something to note that happened during Board of Canvas. And then the only other thing I had on the back part, the second page, there's been a lot of questions going around about purging the voter rolls. There's kind of a movement of people who want to purge voter rolls. We don't really do that here in the state of Wisconsin, and it's not up to any individual citizen to take it upon themselves to say, well, this person moved and this person is dead. Thank you for your feedback. But we have a process in the state of Wisconsin by which we adjust the voter rolls. So if a voter registers at another location in the state of Wisconsin, our system talks to each other, and their voter registration in their new location will immediately inactivate their voter registration here in Dunn County, let's say. If they cross state lines, again, if they go to Minnesota, our state systems talk to each other, and their registration will be inactivated here, meaning that they won't appear on a future voter roll. That's one way. The other way, which is a little bit more morbid, Jackie, Deputy County Clerk Jackie McFagan, works very closely with the Register of Deeds Office on anybody who has passed away in Dunn County to make sure that we get them inactivated as well. Especially with paper poll books, when people see somebody who has passed away, even if it's recently, they get a little concerned about that. So we're trying to update and make sure everything is up to date as quickly as possible with that. The other thing is that the Wisconsin Election Commission will then also send out, as you can see in this tan section here on the bottom, they actually send out information to our office, the county clerk's office, as well as the municipal clerk's office. If a person has not voted in the last 2 years, they send out what's called a mover card. So this, the Wisconsin Election Commission sends out a postcard. They say, hey, have you moved? And if the person has not, and they signed it and they want their voter registration to stay active, they return that card, everything's hunky-dory. If it doesn't get returned, then we get this notification that, hey, this person most likely has moved, then we would go through the process to inactivate them. So there's just been some questions about that recently, but I thought it was important to point that out on the process that we do use and what is legal to do in the state of Wisconsin, not just pull people off. So
A
Yeah.
question, that last part that you're explaining there, so they get the card.
Yep.
And hopefully they would return it, but if they haven't voted in 2 years, they may negligently not. But then if they go to the poll, and especially with Badger books and want to vote again, they just are re-registered, is that the way it works?
well, they can only ever vote once in any election, but yes, if they wanted to vote,
I mean,
and-
if they didn't, if they didn't send the card back. and-
Sure, yeah. So what happens is when the municipal clerks get this little notice, one of the reasons that we're trying to make sure we're gathering voters' phone numbers and emails when they do registration is so that we can contact them, because not everybody checks their mail, or mail seems to still be an ongoing issue in the area. So what the municipal clerks will do is reach out to those voters and say, hey, we got this card back that you didn't fill out. Do you still live here? No, this is June Thomas, not Joan Thomas. Okay. So then we can make sure that we get them inactivated. So that's one of the processes that we do. Just, it's always one of those triple check things. But yes, if a person didn't return the card, they were unresponsive to their municipal clerk, they became inactivated in the system, they can still do same day voter registration.
They can.
Yeah. So, yeah, good question.
Anything else?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry, I missed you, and I even made copies. All right, moving forward. Considerations for actions to be taken by this committee. We're at 6A. And that is review of our vouchers. Again, those are in your packet or in fact online, wherever you are, look for them. Any specific questions as we, as we go down through? You want to go down by department, or you just want to take a shot at the whole thing? All right, that's what we've done in the past, so we'll do that again. Question, Mr. Lino, go ahead.
I only had the one question. Generally already talked about it, that would be that Fierce Incorporated. That price tag popped in my mind a little bit. And then also the monthly PFM asset charge. And then just one thing under the 220 circuit court clerk, indigent attorney fee of $180 to an Erica Envinson. I just was wondering if this is the average cost. I think that might, is that Sarah?
So this is Sarah here. I don't have any additional information on that, so I can't help you with that question. Sorry.
Okay. All right, I just saw this one entry here and I was like, okay, I didn't really catch it anywhere else, and so I was just curious. That's all. And then on the emergency communications, 1250. Maintenance contract for JFTCO Incorporated of $1,783.63. And then I see another maintenance contract for AT&T for $25,007.40. Anyway, I was just wondering, maintenance contracts, I know there's going to be differences, but that's a pretty big difference for a maintenance contract. And I'm kind of curious as to what that might be for.
I will check, but if you can point me, where are you?
I'm on 1250. And I just see a maintenance contract here for 1783.63.
Top of that.
Yep.
Full page of 1250.
Yep,
Yeah.
I see it. I will follow up.
All right, and just kind of wondering, AT&T, is that an annual one, or, what's the story with that? Why the discrepancy? And I think. Oh, here we go. On 1430, external organizations, contractual consulting, $1,000 to a Mr. Douglas Mell.
That is our communication consultant person who is writing doing our press releases and our writing.
Okay, all right. Just hadn't seen that. And another one for the government center. Buildings and repair, $350 for glass, Esser glass of Eau Claire. I'm just wondering, was it broken, or is this new part of the security system? Upgrades.
I don't believe it was part of any upgrade, but I will check and see what it was for.
Okay, not a problem. That's it. That's all I got.
Anyone else? No? All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it? Oh,
Sure.
sure.
You most certainly can. I've got one for Mr. Dunbar.
I just wanted to acknowledge that I understand the price may have jumped out at you. But I wanted to kind of explain our plan for Fierce this year, of course, introducing it to the full management group. So that is, 73 employees. So there is a large cost upfront for that, to provide that. It is a full day training that also does come with a full 12-month membership to like ongoing materials for that. And then our goal, as long as this does prove to be beneficial, would be to continue offering that training to any new managers for years to come. And because of some connections with Stout Human Resources, we have been talking through some cost sharing strategies for future years to be able to kind of, share travel costs and facilitator costs for this program into 2024. So first year, it is an investment, but from years to come, our goal is to share that cost with Stout and be able to have a much lower number attend. So I just wanted to kind of toss that out there while we were here.
Makes
I hope
sense,
that
but
helps.
when you're having 73 people and you've got some counselors that you're dealing with, I understand the cost here, but I think the idea of cost sharing and then also using the business department at Stout is a tremendous asset also in this situation.
Yeah, they've been very open to collaborating, not only on this type of training, but we're excited to kind of explore that further. Thank you.
Thank you. And Dan, I've got one for you. Under near the top of your first page of your report, you, and just things that you've been working on, evaluating, providing support for Colfax PD. Is that police department? Okay. And what type of support? I mean, you don't have to go into their particular request, but what kind of support would we be involved in?
Yeah, so it obviously IT support. So where that came from, you also see an item in there where we are providing support for the town of Sand Creek. And that was something that I had worked with Andrew on, and I think it actually impacts both Andrew and Sophia as it goes through that, but specifically Andrew, it come through. There's as it relates to elections, there's a lot of security related we'll call them mandates that are coming down through the elections area that are asking these municipal clerks to do a lot of things that are, I don't know that I'd call them highly technical, but they're not something that a typical person would need to do. So as those requirements had came out, we kind of offered our services and said, hey, we can help you do all of this. It'll be a little bit easier for us to do. It's something that we can do kind of with our eyes closed, but it isn't something that you would expect them to do. And we can then also provide them a little bit better services through transition of those positions. Sand Creek had gone through one, and this particular clerk reached out to us, and so we are essentially kind of helping them with their email system, and if they do have issues with their computer, that they can come to our help desk and we will do that, and they're paying us for that. So it's a small price, but it's something that they don't have, and frankly, and from an IT perspective, it leads to insecure practices. So we had provided that. As it relates to Colfax PD, they had an issue with one of their squad computers breaking down like last month. They couldn't get it fixed. They didn't know what to do. And frankly, they can't work without a computer inside of their squad car. That's where their dispatch comes from. And our emergency management people can't get in touch with them. Our sheriff's deputies can't get in touch with them or know where they are. These computers have GPS units in them so that all of those people can know where other law enforcement people are within the county. So as it came up, as they contact us about that, we gave them a computer. The sheriff's department has a spare computer in case one of theirs breaks. And so we let them borrow that in order to get them going until that could get fixed. But then we wanted to have a conversation with them to say, what can we do to help? Right? Because we support 29 deputies right now. Supporting one more squad car is small. And they don't have people that can do that. They could hire support, but some of the needs that are specific to meeting all of the rules and regulations that they have to meet are complex, and something that we're already designed to do. They already use a lot of the software that we provide anyway. So it was just a thing. So we met with the chief there, and we're kind of figuring out at which level we would want to do that and where that price tag is. So we're not going to give it away, but there's also, like I mentioned, there's benefit to all of these things. As we know, we have a good computer that helps, a good computer and good communication that helps Andrew be able to communicate. Sophia works with all of the municipal clerks as it relates to, well, not all of them, but a lot of them as it relates to tax collection. So if they have more stable technology, that helps them. And from the emergency management standpoint, right, knowing where these people are, we see this in Barron County, and you don't want to talk about that, but it's nice for those deputies to know where their other law enforcement officers are. So that's what that's about.
Makes sense.
We haven't done anything. We're just investigating.
Oh, yeah, but no,
there's
it does. And I think especially, going forward would make sense that stuff remain interchangeable. I mean, even if we need a small amount of support from the municipalities who have police officers to say, hey, we'll maintain 2 backup computers, or something. I think that probably makes a whole lot of sense going forward.
And like I say, something that we're looking to say, what does this look like, right? Do other villages or townships want to participate in, and what can we do to help them?
Well,
They shouldn't pay for an IT person,
right.
but they need help that they're not going to necessarily be able to provide.
Well, I think so. I think even in possibility of grant writing, You know, there again, if we were gonna move forward and say, let's make this universal throughout the county as much as we can in IT, you know, when there's grants available to county, they might be also similar grants available to those municipalities who now you can say you really have a need, you know.
Yeah.
We need to all put this
Yep.
together.
And the Sand Creek was a grant through the election commission to do that. So,
Cool.
yep.
Well, thanks, Dan. Thank you much.
And I do have follow-up. The $25,000 AT&T bill was
Oh, yeah.
once a year.
Once a year.
The
Okay.
AT&T manages all of the 911 technology.
And then
So
the other company?
I don't know that one.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Yep.
that's not bad,
Yep.
half of it.
All right.
Anything else? Okay, if not, entertain a motion then to approve the reports, including the vouchers.
Make a motion?
Seconded. Motion made by Supervisor Zahn, seconded by Supervisor Linall. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, passes. Thank you. We have a contingency request from the Department of Administration. It was spelled out again in your packet. And I'm gonna ask that our county manager speak to that if she would like.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a three-part request. I took the role as the county manager the early part of August of last year, and we were well within working through the 2023 budget at that point in time. At that point in time, I didn't know what I didn't know. Now I know that in order for us to continue on with some of the initiatives that we have undertaken, we need to infuse a little bit of cash. I don't think it's a super big amount of money, but this is a three-part request. The first is in the economic development world, been working with a group of stakeholders to put together a Dunn County Economic Development Summit. We now have the dates set for that. It'll be 2 half-day sessions or 3-hour sessions. And we're really going to look at how we can understand what each partner is doing and how to get everybody kind of moving in the same direction as much as possible, and who's interested in joining in some maybe some more collaboration and work going forward. We have had a really great small planning group. And so with UW Stout as a partner, one of their department heads, I think is what her title would be. Anyway, no, she's like an assistant provost or something. I don't know. She's got a fancy title. But Meredith Wentz and her planning, assessment, research, and quality department are able to facilitate this for us for a fee of $3,150. So that's the first part of the request. The second part of the request is we've really had a lot of success in our communication efforts, both internally and externally, probably more than almost anything that I do. It's what I get the most feedback about. We're glad Dunn County's out there. We're glad that you're putting messages out. We're glad that you're promoting public service. We're thankful for the education and the information. We like the transparency, are comments that I hear often. And then we were able to piggyback with the city on the purchase, well, the city purchased through a grant, the Qualtrics surveying. That's a kind of a simplistic way of saying it, but tool or software. And we could use an extra license for that, which would be $1,000 for adding that another person. Right now, Dan's the only person with a license. And then there's the ability in social media to boost posts. It's usually a small cost, 10 cents perhaps, or 20 cents, depending on how far of a reach you want to have beyond. So if you just post something on social media, it'll get picked up by a portion of the people who follow you and like you. But if you boost it, it'll increase that, and you sort of, the level of your boost is by how much you pay, but it's all a nominal cost at the level that we would be doing it anyway. So we'd like to experiment a little bit with boosting some of that. So that's the second part of the request. And then the third part of the request is I have historically found a tremendous amount of value in attending the events that are held by the National Association of Counties, and their annual conference is in Austin, Texas this year. There is a whole day pre-conference for CIOs. And there is also a huge vendor fair. And as we look at, or vendor expo, as we look at the potential to look at replacing our financial system or doing something different in our financial system, I think that there would be tremendous value in our CIO and I having opportunity to spend some hands-on time with some of the vendors and just see what's out there. So it's a small request to cover the cost of sending the CIO or to allow him to attend that conference. So the total of all of those requests comes to $10,150 out of our contingency fund, which is $125,000. And I did know we haven't spent any of that this year, and we spent $3,000 of it last year. So we've been pretty, I think, frugal, wise with those monies. Yes. And I would intend then that these would be items then that I would build in to the 2024 budget in some amount so that they could be evaluated in with regard to the other potential needs of the county. And so going forward, we could figure out what we wanted to invest. Again, I don't think it will be a large amount of money, but it's fair that they are in sort of competition with all the other things that the county does.
All right, hearing the request, anyone care to make a motion? Supervisor Leno so moves that we approve the request. Supervisor Zahn seconds it. Any other questions? If not, all in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes. Thank you all. And we'll go forward and that will happen. Next is a reports, resolutions and ordinances to the county board from this committee. 7A is a resolution 2023, a budget adjustment for CJCC Collaboration Division. And that was in, again, packet, and Sarah, I guess we all acknowledge that was $180,000+ Any question about moving that forward? All right. Care to move? We can make that a motion if you wish. Supervisor Bauer moves that we move that budget adjustment for CJCC forward to the county board. Second. Supervisor Leno. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, passes. The second is a resolution 2023 budget adjustment for IT. Anyone? That is a small adjustment, but it is included. It's a contractual consulting service grant. Anyone have any questions for Dan about that? All right. Someone care to make a motion to pass that to the board? So moved and seconded. Motion made by Supervisor Bauer, seconded by Supervisor Zahns. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, those will move forward to the board. I have a request. I'm going to make it known to all you as I do, and that is our county manager. And I very much appreciate, and as part of this evening, your contingency request, the moving forward of passing information on to the people of Dunn County. That's part of our plan. our county's overall long-term plan. And it's just nice to see that we're starting to take it to the next level. I had a discussion with our clerk about something that I has been interested in the thought I've had for a couple of years. And that is that the possibility of visiting, I don't know if we would call it a little, I suppose we could call it a Dunn County vendor fair. But remote locations, for instance, the gymnasium in Boyce High School, Colfax, Elk Mound, southern part of the county, maybe, down at the Downsville or and up at maybe Sand Creek, and maybe not all in one year. But the purpose that I would like to see is the information that we could pass on to our voting constituents about the services that the county itself has available to them. And along with asking for sponsorship and attendance by maybe our healthcare providers, Prevea, Mayo, Marshfield, for instance. It could be other things related to that, other, entities in the county that would maybe be interested. With the idea that people could attend and hopefully be more enlightened as to what's available. We seem to have a fairly, I know in the last number of months here, it's really dead off with interest rates and cost of housing, but we seem to have a fairly reasonable influx of new people into the county. And some people who probably have been here for a while and still don't know all that the county does for them or offers what they can do for them. And so just an idea, as Chris and her team going forward with that, those types of things that if you, thought you might come up with an idea that we could kick around, well, I appreciate it.
Thank you. I had actually had a conversation with Andrew this afternoon and he shared your thoughts and I think we could do something with that.
All right.
Oh. No.
What's done in Dunn?
Oh, yeah.
And I guess I think that just the information we talked about, and thanks to Dan, about what IT does. For instance, how, you service not just, the county offices here, but our county protection, our 911, the municipal fire departments and the municipal ambulance services and the municipal all emergency services throughout the county. And I don't know if anybody get those things or paying attention to those things that come through on your emails, but there was really a good article about the problems with staffing local volunteer fire departments.
Yeah.
In the fact that 80% of all the firefighters in the United States are volunteers. And, problem with keeping that number up. And I'm sure if you looked at ambulance departments, that problem is higher. So it's really important that statewide, I think that's something that, I'm gonna put forward next year on a legislative agenda is that, and that's something that some of the states are already recognizing to do, is they need to support those functions and those services. And some of the states are offering small retirement funds that build up as those people serve. A little money is put away every year by the state for those people to draw on. Some of them are offering health in terms of, somebody's hurt on the job as a firefighter or hurt in training. They're help pay for their training. Some of that is not being done. And firefighter volunteers or an ambulance staff member shouldn't have to buy all the tools and the clothing and the boots and the protective gear so they can serve. I think that, that's To me, just makes sense. So anyway, thank you all. Any other announcements?
I do have one other thing. Jenna, can you come up for just a second?
Uh-oh.
I wanted to inspire you all with your leadership for today. And share.
Part of the management team?
Oh, if only you had the hats.
Is that-
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay, this committee, our next scheduled meeting will be April 27th of 2023. That'll be the last Thursday of April, or May, that's
Yeah.
right. Thank you for that correction.
That would be a Saturday, so.
So, what is our next meeting?
25th?
25th?
Yeah.
Okay, there we go. Our first major correction of the. Okay, so May 25th, 3:00. Here in room 60. We are adjourned. Thank you all. We can stop recording.